Up till now, I've been showing my full games of Oaken Tower, and in this episode I just want to go through a little faster, just show some clips from some games, and show how I'm progressing. In this first game, I start off upgrading, going for some money. In the second shop I got the money dagger, so I go for that, and I kind of continue going for money for a little while. Now I don't want to lose too many battles, so I do put some items in on time, and I try to upgrade the daggers as much as possible. After a couple of games I do go for the Venom Strike bow. I think this is a very strong bow for the early game. It applies quite a lot of poison damage, and it at least gives you some wins earlier on, almost for free, since this one bow will often give you a couple wins. And I do like to go for it while I greed for some combines from 15 gold items and also some gold from gold items, like in this case the dagger. I try upgrading the bow for a little while, but then I quickly transition into the arcane sword that upgrades its damage permanently for every debuff you apply. It counts for debuffs you apply with any item, so it doesn't have to be the sword itself. I think this is a really strong build that can get you to 10 trophies quite easily, because if you get the sword early on, you can permanently upgrade the damage enough to kill most enemies. If you get it a little bit later, then it will require some support items to upgrade it, but you can still upgrade it fast enough to at least beat the enemies up to 10 trophies. Now in this run it felt like it was going quite well, so I did try some endless. However, I think that the arcane sword isn't quite strong enough to get you very far into endless. And so in this run I also didn't get super deep into endless, but it was nice just to see my build develop a little further than just the 10 trophies that you usually play for. Now lastly, in these later days or later runs, I think the shield that removes 20% debuffs is very important, because a lot of builds rely on debuffs to win and on poison to win, and so having this shield can extend your games by quite a bit. Now in this run, sadly, I did not get any 3-star potions. I only have 15% luck, so it's not a huge chance, and also I didn't get any huge scaling money. So yeah, I would either need a lot of potions, or I would need the gold shield with a lot of triggers to get enough money to get a bunch of 3-star potions. But it was still a fun little run. In this next game, I once again start with a bunch of 15 gold items that I want to combine at level 3 to get some epic chests. Now after those first few days, I kind of try a couple different builds, and not being focused in this game is how you usually lose. So that is quite dangerous. I try something frosty, I try something arcane, and then eventually I find the Void Stinger, which again is the arcane sword that upgrades with debuffs. I thought maybe this sword can kind of fix my build, since I haven't got any focus going. And so I tried to get the sword going, but it's a little bit late and I don't have a lot of gold generation, so it's going quite rough. And then later on during this game I find one of these very legendary swords that you can usually not get, only with luck or with the anvil. And I hope that that will save me, but sadly it does not. And so this game, I think, is my first maybe, or maybe my second, actual loss of playing this game. It is my let's say, see 8th game playing Oaken Tower. So yeah, losing focus of your build, that can be very detrimental, I have learned. Now, because I just lost in this next game, I want to try and stay more focused. And so before this game, I already get into my mind I want to go for a shield build, since I really like the gold generating shield, and I feel like shields are quite strong. So I start off the game again trying to combine 15 gold items and going for any gold generating items, so I can have some more gold for the late game. I do get the debuff removal shield that gives you 20% debuff removal. Well, that removes 20% debuffs per trigger, which I think is really strong, and I also get the item that triggers adjacent shields. However, I don't get the golden shield, and so I don't quite get the build going. I do get the cursed shield, which is really strong. I just don't realize it quite yet in this game, and I actually end up losing because I'm too focused on going shields, and you need to be a bit more flexible in this game. So in this game I ran into a different danger, and that is to be too focused on one build and not looking at what is in front of you. In this game I'm keeping more of an open mind. I get my gold going, my items combined, and I actually learned that the cursed shield is a good item to use. So I'm lucky enough to get it again, and this time I do use it. Now I also get the Pandora's box going, one of my favorite items in the game. If you put it in a slot and it has its time to trigger, so it triggers during combat, and from that moment on for the rest of the game any item in that slot gets copied once a day. And so I'm able to copy my cursed shield to give it a star. And I also got the sword that buffs when you gain gold during your turn, and I'm getting a lot of gold, so it's looking like I'm set up to win in this game. I do, however, end up making a detrimental mistake. So because the cursed shield has a bunch of multicast, I'm using my potions on it. However, in my inventory I have a potion that I don't quite know, and I'm not really paying too much attention to what potions I have, and I use it on it and it transforms it into a different item, so I lose my cursed shield just before the last fight. So I'm a little bit sad, but also I think it's really funny actually. So I quickly need to make some adjustments to my build. I do think I am strong enough with the gold sword and the gold generation I have and the debuff removal sword. But it is still, I don't know, I didn't quite expect it. So I have a 3-star potion in my bag, but nothing is 2-star yet, so I cannot use it yet. And I really want to get something going here just before this last game. I do have some lives left, so it's not too bad if I lose here. But I prefer to just get the 10th trophy and continue grinding my ranked score. So I end up looking for another item. I think it's a bit too late for sword techniques, since it permanently upgrades swords. It would be good to give my gold sword some crit, but doing this in the last game is way too late. And yeah, I shouldn't have bought that. I continue looking for anything, maybe some last upgrades. But I think I end up just spending my gold on useless stuff, and I have to jump into the next game without using my 3-star potion. I'm a bit flustered at this point that I just turned my cursed shield into a different item, and I think that's kind of also why I'm making these extra bad mistakes. But as you see, my sword is strong enough that I do win this game, and it's not a build that I'm going to be taking into endless anyway. So I just get the 10th trophy and I see how much damage I do to the oak. At this point I've kind of gotten a standard build that I'm really liking, and that is shields. And I end up getting the gold shield really early in this game. And so I focus my build around this golden shield. I make my ward binder frosty. That way the ward binder that triggers adjacent shields also gets triggered if I trigger the frosty orb, and later during this game I get the frosty orb that allows my ward binder to trigger even more, and this is generating me a huge amount of income. I also make sure that the frosty orb goes off a little bit faster with the amulet that decreases cooldown of the item below when it triggers. And with all that gold I end up getting a 3-star potion, and I think it's only fitting to put it on the gold shield. Yeah, I go into Endless for one round, and then I think I immediately die. Oh no, my game crashes actually, sadly, and it is lucky that it happened after 10 trophies. That way I did get my rank, because I've learned that if your game crashes or you disconnect before 10 trophies, then you lose your full 100 ranked points, ELO. But so far I am really enjoying the game, and it's going quite well. I'm enjoying it. I'm starting to build a feeling for the game, getting to know the items, and it's a lot of fun. I like the flow of the game. And this is where the game takes a turn for the worst. So after that last disconnect, I immediately get my first connection lost. Now the thing that is so painful about connection lost is that even if you were to be at 9 trophies, if you get connection lost, you lose rating as if you had 0 trophies for that game. And there's nothing you can do about it. Sometimes, if you're lucky, you get reconnected. However, usually in my case, it just says connection lost for about 10 minutes and then the game crashes. Now this game is still in early access, so I am expecting them to fix these types of issues before the full game comes out. But at this point I'm addicted, so I really want it to just work. And after this connection lost, I'm a little bit sad. And so in the next 2 games, I really kind of try to force the game way too much. I want to rush it too much just to get back to the rating I was at. And rushing it and forcing it actually ends up making me lose, where I should just look at what the game gives me, go for the early game gold, and then take the build that the game gives me, and not try to force any type of build or try to rush into any type of build, because that's how I lose. I get way too sort of almost overconfident, and yeah, I don't pay enough attention to my lives. So yeah, these were a couple painful games. However, I am addicted enough to the game, and after a short break I wanted to get back into it, luckily, since I think this game is quite amazing. It's so fun. After a couple painful games and a short break, I get back into the game, and I don't do anything too fancy. I get my early combines, my gold from the shield, and then I get I just see what the game gives me, and it gives me a Venom Strike bow, which is just quite an easy way and not too fancy way to win the 10 trophies. I think it's a really strong item by itself, and if you have some supporting items, it's usually enough to get to the 10 trophies. And this win gets me back in the game with a positive attitude. And with this regained positivity, I jump into another game where I get to do my favorite build once again, the shield build. Early on I get a brass shield, allowing me to get some money, and quite soon after I get the Pandora's box, and with these two items I'm usually set to win the game, because I am able to get money from the brass shield and copy items with the Pandora's box, and also win the early games with the Pandora's box, because it does also do burn damage after it goes off, and this usually allows me to set myself up for success. Now I also take the ward binder, I take my anti-debuff shield, see if I can quickly see the name of it, not quite. And this is what I need for success. I get the Nature Skull, which gives the item below multicast, just so I can get the brass shield to go off more to gain a little more money. And I gain the Lost Fragment to give the brass shield even more multicast for more money. Later on in the game I get the sword that upgrades itself when gold is gained during combat, and I decrease its cooldown a little bit and win the 10 trophies in, I think, the most standard feeling way that I have found so far. Just the brass shield, brass shield build basically. I then do a game where the shop sets me up for success by giving me a bunch of poison items. I think poison is the strongest debuff in the game because it damages underneath shields, and so you omit an entire class of builds, all shield builds basically, except for the ones that actually do debuff removal, but you can outscale that sometimes with poison, so even there poison is still strong. And so yeah, this makes it quite an easy and relatively quick game because it's easy for me to play, since I just look for poison or items that buff my poison or give multicast, and I choose those and quickly win this round. This is the last build that I'm going to show for now, and I'll do another episode like this probably in the future and then go back to some single runs. So if you did make it so far, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoy watching and playing the game.